Now, in teaching phonics, there are a number of methods that are used. Now, phonics is known as a teaching method that is used to teach the relationship between phonemes, that is sounds, and graphemes, or letters. Knowledge of phonics allows students to develop the ability to use their knowledge to decode text, that is, to sound out the words in a text. Phonemic awareness and phonics are not the same thing. Phonemic awareness is the ability to hear a spoken word and separate that word into the various sounds it's made of. Phonics is the ability to match those sounds to the letters of the alphabet. If students can read Korean, this will help them understand phonics better. And the reason why is that Korean, like English, is an alphabet. Once they understand how one alphabet works, they can take that knowledge and they can transfer it to help them understand how another alphabet works. So their understanding of the Korean alphabet can be transferred to help them better understand how the English alphabet works. So it's a good question, why should we teach phonics? There's a number of reasons. First, research shows that students who learn phonics can read better. Additionally, it's like the saying, if you give someone a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach someone to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. When we teach students phonics, they can sound out new words themselves, and they don't need the teacher to be there to tell them what a new word is. English is an alphabetic language, unlike, for example, Chinese. So we can use the knowledge of the alphabet to help us read, rather than memorizing the letters in the words themselves. We can use them to sound the word out. Lastly, good readers mainly use the letter of a word rather than the pictures in a text to identify words. And that's important for our learners to realize, that you shouldn't use a lot of context. You should be able to sound the words out. And rather than trying to look at pictures or guess from the context all the times, learners need to know how to sound out words so they can be sure what the word is that they're reading. One of the first steps in teaching phonics is to ensure learners know what the alphabet is. And there's 3 simple ideas for how to teach the alphabet. The first one is tried as true, long-standing, the alphabet song. The alphabet song is very effective because it's easy to remember. It's catchy. And it helps learners remember what the words are. One of the first things to do when teaching phonics is to teach the alphabet. And there are 3 standard activities that are used for helping to teach the alphabet. The first is the alphabet song. This has been around for a long time because it's an effective way to remember the alphabet. Music is a very effective memory aid. The second is alphabet books. You see on the slide, the lower right-hand corner, an example of an alphabet book. This shows the letter of the alphabet with numerous pictures of words that start with that letter. When students see these pictures, it helps them associate the letter with the sound, that is the first sound, of each of the example words. For example, cow, cookie monster, clown, cat, and car. All of these words help the student make that association. And it connects to things that they know about in their life, and that they may have interest in, which again helps make it more memorable. The last technique is this notion of teaching the letter of the week. So for example, if we're teaching the letter A this week, anytime we see the letter A, we can draw the student's attention to it and ask them to give examples of words that start with that sound, or point to words in stories or words in the textbook. And again, all of these instances and reminders helps to reinforce that connection between the letter, the sound, and the various words that start with that letter. After we've taught the alphabet, we can start to teach various phonics understandings and connections through several methods. The first method of teaching phonics is called the analytical method or the implicit method. Basically, this method works by having students analyze a common phoneme or sound in a set of words. So for example, the teacher gives the student a variety of words such as blanket, balloon, banana, boy, bat, ball, so on and so forth. And from these examples, the teacher draws the student's attention to the first letter in those words. By examining the examples, the student should be able to figure out that each of those words start with a B sound. When they do this, they start to realize that B makes a B sound, and that is an analytical approach. Also sometimes known as an inductive approach to teaching phonics. The second approach to teaching phonics is called analogy. Analogy works by using the concept of word families. So for example, the word cake, make, bake, take, lake, these are all examples of the ake word family. When we teach word families, students are able to realize that parts of words sound similar, and they can use this knowledge when they see new words that are in word families they know. That can help them to better identify those words. So for example, when I teach the ale family, male, nail, pale, sail, whale, tail, when the student meets those words in text, they'll understand how that works. The third approach to teaching phonics is known as embedded phonics. As you see from the picture on the slide, this is teaching phonics through a story. So we see in the story it says, "Bug tugs a nut. He is in the mud." We're trying to teach the sound that goes with you here. And we do this through using a story about Bug tugging a nut. In seeing this story, we see several examples of the U and letter connection. Students are better able to remember this connection because it's in a story with interesting visuals that they care about. What's particularly useful about an embedded approach to teaching phonics is that not only does it draw on the bottom-up theory that we talk about, it also draws on a top-down theory because it gets students to pay attention to the context, pay attention to the story, and use both their bottom-up and top-down processing skills in a way that helps them make the connections between the sounds and the letters and connect those to coherent stories that are hopefully enjoyable for them. The final method for teaching phonics is known as the synthetic approach to teaching phonics. A synthetic approach is the more traditional approach to teaching phonics. In essence, it works the way that many teachers remember being taught themselves in school. The teacher shows the letter and says, C says k, A says a, T says t, k, a, t is cat. And so this teacher shows the students how to make connections between letters and sounds and then add those letters up to spell words, blending them together. And that is, in essence, a synthetic approach to teaching phonics. It's very traditional and very explicit. The April approach to teaching phonics is generally a synthetic approach. And this approach works in Korea because students already have an understanding of how phonics works, how the alphabet works from their experience in learning the Korean alphabet, Hangul. Now, let's take a moment to discuss the stages for teaching phonics. As I mentioned before, phonemic awareness is a foundation of teaching phonics. Once learners understand that individual words are made of separate sounds, then they're ready to begin phonics instruction. You start phonics instruction with teaching the initial alphabet sounds. That is, how the alphabet letter sounds at the beginning of a word. For example, A in alligator, axe, and apple. After that, we move on to teaching rhymes. In essence, rhymes are like word families. After we teach rhymes, we go on to teaching short vowels. For example, the A in hat. After that, we finish off teaching any remaining consonant sounds that we haven't previously taught. After we finish the consonants, we move on to long vowels. And long vowels is a vowel that says its name. For example, the A in hate. Long vowels are vowels that say their name. For example, the A in hate. After we finish teaching the long vowels, we move on to blends. Blends are also known as consonant clusters. For example, in the word strength, the first three consonants are considered a consonant cluster. The st, r, strength, those three first sounds are considered a blend. After we finish blends, we move on to consonant and vowel digraphs. Now, blends are comprised of two separate sounds. However, digraphs are more than one letter that only make one sound. For example, in the word phone, the first two letters, P and H, actually only make one sound. Now, an example of a vowel digraph would be the EA in the word seat. It only makes one sound, E. After we finish consonant and vowel digraphs, we move on to breaking down polysyllabic words. That is, words that are made of multiple syllables. We can help learners to break these words down by looking for big words inside of small words. If we look at the April schedule follows the recommended sequencing of teaching the phonics skills very closely, going from single letter sounds to short and long vowels, then double letter consonants, silent letters, double letter vowels, and arc